Welcome.
It's the Miami Night Show, Grief Talk. Hey.
I am so pleased to have each of these lovely women on our show this evening. I'm so glad that they're here, and we're here today to talk about a very special event, which we're calling Black on Black Violence. And we're going to kick it off with our very special guest, Olga Williams.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you for having us all here. It's always an honor to appear on your show, Miami. Ladies, great seeing you guys. But I'm going to really talk about today Black on Black violence. And it's so relatable to me and my family. It's a subject that at times it's shunned upon. We're not supposed to talk about it. You know, don't talk about Black on Black anything. But, you know, it's relatable to me because my bonus son was killed by another Black young man. So, you know, it's a subject that has to be talked about. It's tragic, it's pathetic, and I contest it, you know, and I just want to have a conversation about it, you know.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Anyone else would like to chime in?
I would, you know, just as you said, it's shunned upon, and I was shut down on my Facebook several times for bringing up just the quote Black on Black violence. But my son was murdered by from people, a 14-year-old. And to be honest with you, I don't know how anyone else would feel about this, but for me, I felt betrayed by my community. It would be one thing if it was, you know, I know the whole subject is about police officers killing young Black men, but when we are all walking the same struggle and dealing with the same things in life, it really is a betrayal to see one youth come towards another youth and kill them. So I think this is a subject that really needs to be discussed, and we need to be dealing with this in our community, and we don't need to be sitting here worried about what white folks are doing in their community, what Asian folks are doing in their community. We need to take care of what's going on in our own community first.
Absolutely.
And it's horrific. I mean, it's horrific. Absolutely. Nichole, you are so right.
So how does everybody feel about the variation of Black on Black versus police brutality? Did you feel left out? You know, when a lot of that was happening last summer, how did each of you feel?
I felt like it was a typical case. I won't say gaslighting, but Ricky Smiley also is, you know, he experienced gun violence with his own daughter. And he said that as Black people, we have to fix the house before we fix the yard. And that is what I feel about the situation. It's not that, you know, social injustices and police excessive use of force and even murder, that isn't important. It is. But what is very important is that we change the way we interact with each other. I think we all have an experience. We all that are sitting here have an experience with people that look just like us.
Exactly.
And they inflict the unthinkable upon us.
And so why don't we talk about it? You know, why don't we talk about it? And I'm glad we're here talking about it today.
It's very important.
It's a conversation that we really need to have. I too lost my son, you know, and the crime was Black on Black. So it's definitely a conversation that is not being had enough. So I'm so glad to be with you ladies today to have this discussion, because it definitely needs to be brought to the forefront.
Yes, it does.
Intercommunal violence is definitely an issue. We see it every day within our communities, community against community, whether it's gang related or other avenues. There are certain things that we must do that I don't think a law would fix for the crime that happens in our community. My son was killed by unintentionally by a teen playing with an unsecured firearm, someone that looked just like him. So it is an issue. We have to deal with conflict resolution. We have to have resources available for our community where, you know, I know that we talk about community centers, but there are community centers that are open, but the people that need it aren't the ones that's going there. So how do we reach the ones that are not coming to the community centers that are open? Because that's what we have to do. We have to reach those individuals because we know that they aren't coming. And so definitely conflict resolution. That's number one on the list. We can't fight violence with violence. That just it doesn't equal anything. You know, if my son I can no longer see, but then if another individual that looks like him is in prison and they still have everything, they can still breathe and all of that, there is no justice in that.
There's accountability.
There's accountability.
A certain
accountability.
Legal.
Just a little. But
you're
absolutely.
I think to the point of what Julvonnia was saying, with the police and things, if we become equally as outraged when the police do it,
Yeah.
as we all know how that goes, if we have that same energy and we bring that to little Johnny down the street that we knew since he was 5, and he does something, if we all show up in numbers like we do, and I'm not, outing any organization like the Black Lives Matter movement, if we get involved with our own people that way and we hold them accountable, I think that's when we're going to see the change. When a young man can see, okay, I did this for poor reasons, whether it be just not having the skills, whatever the reason is. But if they can really get a better picture of how they affect people that look like all of us at this table, I think that will be integral in turning things.
Yes.
But to answer, but to answer your question, Miami, about how did we feel, I'll speak about myself. When all of the publicity happened around the police shootings of the young men, I felt like this. I felt like, well, what about my son?
Yeah.
Why isn't my son important enough? Why aren't our sons, our husbands, our
Family
fathers,
members.
our family members important enough for us to be so outraged that we have this plague in our community?
Yeah.
It was one of the things that I sat there and just thought, when we have a murder, I'm sorry for your loss.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm praying for you.
Yeah.
Condolences to your family. And statistically, I hate to put it out there, but more of us are killing us than police officers are killing us,
absolutely.
or
Absolutely.
KKK is killing us.
Absolutely.
And so for us to get so enraged and upset and tear up cities and burn down buildings and, say the profanity to the police officers and all that, but you don't get mad when your own people
Right.
And
are
to me,
doing
it's
it.
an outrageous, and it takes me all the way back. It always takes me back to, it has to start also with families.
The foundation.
The foundation.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
if JoJo and Boo Boo are seeing their parents do certain things,
Yeah.
then that's
Yeah.
their mentality.
Yes. Yeah.
And so we get outraged, but what are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Exactly. And we have to learn each other's love language.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's one thing that my mother's always scared for me, and she's watching and say, Mom, she's always scared for me to talk to young people out there. I'll joke with a young man if he comes in the Quick Trip and his pants are down here, and I'll say this, I literally say this, and everybody busts out laughing, but he does too. And I'll say, I was gonna talk to you because you were so cute, but then your pants was down. And he just started, and he'll, ma'am, I'm so sorry. And because I didn't ridicule him,
Right.
I had him laugh with
Exactly.
me.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And he obliged by pulling his pants up, whereas it was a McDonald's, and I'm not gonna name which one, but locally, a young man came in and he didn't have a shirt on. And the manager came up to him and he berated him. And that kid his response was violence.
Right.
Because he embarrassed him in front of the people instead of speaking a love language to him
Yeah.
about, son, come over here, let me tell you.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
didn't speak that way
Yeah.
to him. So we don't know what these kids are dealing with
Exactly.
at home.
So let me take you to another love language.
Yes.
When you see something, you say something. There are parents that condone the drama and the
Yeah.
foolishness.
Yeah, they do.
There are parents who see their kids on social media with guns and all this, and they're just playing.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
my baby
Oh, that's
social
cute.
media.
Yeah.
That's cute. No, that's not cute.
Yeah.
That's
And
outrageous.
to your point exactly, I have seen on social media adults literally, they're putting guns up and standing, in front of it and
Yeah.
posing like that's cute. It's nothing
And not
cute about
even
that at all.
thinking about what it does to survivors.
Exactly.
Or giving a thought to how I may process seeing that.
That's right.
There's days that I know that I can look at the news or I can hear a song or they talking about shoot 'em up, and because that touches me, that touches my
Exactly.
soul. I've lost a loved one. I'm just not okay with it all the time. So
Not either.
I would hope, I'm so grateful that we're having this conversation, and I think that's a good segue to go into how we are getting, how individuals are just people in our community are being able to access guns. And what I would like to talk about is, I know this all too well because my son, Tyke, he was shot, him and his best friend, in an incident that claimed his best friend's life, but then 5 years later, Tyke shot and killed himself with a gun. And for me, when I think about the access to guns, Tyke, we would have very candid conversations about his lifestyle. And actually, they used to hop the trains, and there would be open crates of guns just left there for our community. I know that there's some bill of lading showing where the traffic of gun trafficking came from. So why are they just being left open for our community to find? I've heard this in stories in Miami where there's tractor trailers left open and full of guns. You know, so the access to guns. Would anybody else like to speak on access to guns?
I would.
Okay.
We hosted a forum a couple of months ago, and you'd be surprised that teenagers are saying they can get guns from school. They
Yeah.
can rent a gun
Yeah.
for
Or
$25.
make one.
They can rent a gun, or even social media. That's how Dominique was killed. He was the little boy went on social media and said, "I need a 40 for a body."
Wow.
You know, why is that okay?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Why can you get a gun? The
Yeah.
access.
Yeah, the access is, like you say, is so critically important that changes are made on that level. Same situation with my son. As I sit and listen to some of, you know, the results that took place, the individual left from where he was and went to another side of town and actually were able to retrieve a gun and then come back and, you know, commit the crime.
Right.
So, yeah.
And I also think too, and maybe, I don't know if Julvonnia, you can speak towards this or if not, but talk a little bit about red flag laws. But I know during the time when Tyke was, he was able to just access a gun by just calling a friend, saying, hey, I need a gun, or I need another one. And it was because he was in fear of his own life, because people that he knew, and we all know this, how trust is very difficult to trust individuals after you've been a part of a shooting, being a victim of a shooting, or you lost a loved one to shooting. And for Tyke's father, he didn't appreciate him having a gun in the house, but every time we tried to say, Tyke, you can't have this, he was still able to access it, no matter if his dad got rid of it or not. So I don't know, as far as the extreme risk laws, also known as red flags law, provide a way for family members and or law enforcement to intervene when someone is showing serious signs that are at risk or harming themselves or someone else with a gun. And this is all great if you have these laws in your state. And but for my situation and being in a black community, it wasn't that easy for my son's father to be able to take the gun away from him. It wasn't that he was a felon. It was okay for him to have it. And then later on, Tyke shot and killed himself. So I know that red flag law is great for our community, but that's not always going to be the answer all the time.
Especially because
for our community.
Trying to enforce it is really the issue.
Yeah.
Because if you have a gun in your home and you call the police to remove the gun, there's different steps that you have to take in order for that to even be able to happen. Because majority of the time we have illegal guns. That's the number one issue in our communities. And then you have the easy access to guns. They have stash houses, different things.
Right.
They have different ways where they have you pass it, you use it, you pass it. So it's so many things and so many dynamics to that. And with the red flag laws, it helps. But then, how can you enforce it? That's the issue, is enforcing it. Because then you have to go through the court system and other things to be able to remove that. When you see someone that's struggling, or we can easily say, take it out the house.
Yeah.
But how easy? If guns are so ready to access, then you removing that doesn't mean that child or that person will go and get another gun and legally purchase it.
Right.
So
there's a lot of issues
remember
with
there are things you can do, because remember in our town, Savannah, the mayor hosted this event where they were buying back guns.
Yeah, we were going to do that here.
They were doing it, and people were bringing the guns to get them off the streets, but more guns were coming.
That was
the part.
So I remember I spoke to you about that. We were going to host a buyback program here in DeKalb County.
Okay.
What discouraged me from it is, and it's a great program. You pay people to come back to their guns, and we were going to have them melted down. I have an artist that actually turns the guns to metal art.
Okay.
So I have an artist that does that. So I was going to donate the guns over to her so she could do that. I had 4 teenagers at Quick Trip tell me, well, it doesn't matter. I come take the money, but I'm still going to get another gun.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, this is a revolving issue.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter if I take the gun out of your hand. Because if I take the gun out of your hand, I give you $150. You go spend it on what you want to.
Right.
But you will go back and purchase another gun. And you may get one that's even more dangerous than the one that you donated to us.
Yeah.
You know, so the answer is very difficult.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
there's not one answer.
and,
It's not.
Absolutely.
and there's a black market.
Yeah.
You got to get down to. I've always believed in this. In order to end anything, you got to get to the root,
That's
Yeah,
right, that's right.
and
absolutely.
we've got to find the root.
Yes.
And
And it's gonna
Julvonnia,
take conversations like
can you
this.
also speak to Be Smart?
Be Smart,
Yes,
yes.
really.
So with Be Smart, BeSmartForKids.org, it's 5 steps that both gun owners and non-gun owners can take to ensure the safety and well-being of our children. And that's because we all know that over 4 million children live in homes with guns. And you're not going to be able to remove all guns from homes, and that's not what we're trying to do, because we
Right,
all know
right.
that there's a level of protection that people believe in. So there are legal gun owners, and so you don't want to punish the good with the bad when it comes
Right.
to this
Yeah,
issue.
right.
So we talk about gun safety, and so with gun safety, the S is secure all guns in your homes and your vehicles, making sure you have that gun inaccessible to that child, because a lot of people would say, well, my child know better, they're not going to touch it. But studies have shown that kids know where the gun is, and they have touched it without the parent knowing.
Yeah.
Because you have peer pressure.
Yeah.
Kids want to touch it, they want to feel it, they don't know the difference between real and fake.
Yeah.
And just that quick, life can change. It doesn't have to be your gun, but it can be your child. It doesn't have to be your child, but it can be your gun.
Yeah.
And so the M is model responsible behavior around guns. We all know that you have people that live next to you or by you that suffer from PTSD, but people will still go and shoot celebratory gunfire.
Yeah.
Celebratory gunfire kills too, because if that bullet goes up, it has
gotta
to
come
come
down.
down.
Yep.
And
And
so
it doesn't have a
have an
name.
eye, it doesn't have a name, it doesn't have a brain. So that bullet can come down anywhere. And we've seen where people have done that, and then they found out the bullet came from all the way over another side or wherever
Right.
down
Yes.
the street.
Yes.
The A is ask others about unsecured guns in their homes. Making sure before you allow your child to go visit. Right now with COVID, a lot of kids are home at long extended period of times. Kids are antsy, right? They don't know, they're curious, they're antsy, they don't always think things through chronologically A through Z, and we as adults, we don't either. And we all know that the frontal part lobe of the brain does not fully function until you're about 25, 26.
Yeah.
So kids don't always think consciously about their choices. And so the ask, because kids are curious. They will look. Kids, if they can find Christmas gifts, they can find a gun.
Okay.
If they can find change in your couch, they can find a gun. And we've seen where kids are being shot in cars because the parent left the car out the car, and just that quick, the child found the gun in the purse or on the floorboard or anywhere in that car. So making sure you're doing your due diligence to save lives. The R is recognize the role of guns in suicides, because again, kids don't always think things through chronologically A through Z. They're impulsive, and just a bad day can turn into a fatal day with easy access to a gun, especially when you don't have anyone to be there. And we're not there 24/7 when our children are having crises and things that we're not aware of. And so we have to do our part if we can. And then the T is tell others and take action, is what I'm doing here today. Tell others to be smart. And that's the most important part, is to be smart.
So what do we want to do?
Be.
1, 2, 3.
Be smart. And there's a video that I posted a while back that is all of that. A young man, he did, I don't know if you guys, I forgot the name of the show that comes on Facebook, but this was his reality. And what he did was he made his parents upset. So by making them upset, he took it out on himself. He went to daddy's gun cabinet and got the gun and shot himself. And he didn't think everything through. If he had survived, what would happen? If he died, what would happen to his parents? He didn't think any of that through, but he ended up surviving.
Yeah.
But when he survived, he knocked out this portion of his face. So from here to here.
Yeah.
And because he put the gun in his mouth. And so he's had over 17 reconstructive surgeries. And you can tell from here to here, he was probably a very nice looking kid. But one of the things that stuck out to me the most was what he said, and I rewinded it over and over and over again, was that he said, here's where the gun cabinet was, now it's the gun safe. And it just hit me so hard, because it took his parents to say, we have to lock it up, we have to secure this gun.
Right.
Because we don't want anyone else to have access to it. So they changed it from the cabinet to the safe. And I said, this is what we talk about all the time. But we get so much pushback in our community. I mean, I got pushback from a fire chief who teaches about safety. And he told me how does it look for him to have his gun locked up in his car? And if he's running from somebody and he gets to his car, then he's got to unlock the box to get the
but
gun.
that's how a lot of guns get stolen.
And I said,
it looks like
and that's what I
convenience.
told him. I said, you do understand, since you're the fire chief, and I used to work for the prosecutor, we know that the number one crime in Georgia is petty theft.
Yeah.
That is the number one crime that leads from petty theft to murder.
Yeah.
And that's it. We don't murder over, they just murder over petty things.
Yeah.
And so, and I would say, so you're telling me that you're going to leave your gun unlocked, in your car so someone can come and smash your window and steal your gun?
Wow.
And there's so many other safety mechanisms that can be used with the,
The
the fingerprint, exactly. So, I mean, if he choose to use that method, it is some sense of security and some sense of,
Yeah,
If-
there is a false sense of people saying, well, I need to have access to my gun. And if that gun is in the home, you have an advantage, because if someone breaks in your home, they're not going to turn on the lights. That's number one. They're not going to turn on the lights.
Right.
So if you're at home, you have access to get to that safe before they're able to find wherever you are in your home, because they haven't, unless they've been there before, they don't know your home and your layout.
Right.
So they're going to walk through, but they're not going to turn on any lights to say, hey, I'm here. Majority of the time.
Hi.
Yeah, unless it's broad daylight and they do it, but you still have an advantage, because if you have that safe, the biometric, a lot of people shy away from doing biometric because if you're nervous, well, with the biometric it's easier to just put your thumbprint, and the codes is a lot of things that they shy away from, because with the code, if you're nervous, you can press the code really, you can do it wrong. And so, but with the codes, you can also have a key. So if you have that key and that code, you can always get inside your safe if need be.
Right.
But making sure that key is inaccessible to that child, not having that key and say, okay, I'm just gonna leave the key right here, and the child know where the key is.
Right.
Making sure you are doing your due diligence to make sure it's secured at all times.
So what do y'all think about, and I know this is not part of our question, but it's for this particular thing, for those responsible gun owners, instead of leaving the gun inside the car unsecured, we do in the state of Georgia have the permit to carry. And why not just carry it? If you feel that you need to protect yourself from some potential crime or violence that's coming to you, then you can go down and file the same way you filed to get the gun. You can file for a permit to carry and just carry it on you. That way, there's no temptation for some young kid to get on there because he wants street credits or clout or whatever to break in your car.
Yeah, but the only thing with the carry, I am very leery, because I've seen people sit at the counter at restaurants with the gun on their side. I'm like, just that quick, someone can come and things can happen so quickly.
Yeah.
And not saying that's like I was in Old Navy and I saw this guy. He's playing with his grandchild, I'm assuming. It may have been his child, and he's throwing him up. The gun is right there, and I mean, and they're just, and in my mind, all I can think of is that gun drops and goes off.
Yeah.
Where's that bullet going to go? That's all I could think, and all I did was just say, you know what? I don't even want to shop anymore. I'm just going to put this stuff back, and I'm going to leave, because to me, I saw, and I think it's because of my personal experience. I saw so much happening in that moment. So much, and I felt like even the guy that was jumping on the trampoline with the and get air or something with the gun, like it's just things that happens where I get it. You have a concealed carry permit or a permit carry where you can, but then it's like this is not the wild wild west. Why do we see guns everywhere?
Like,
Like,
a lot of times our society feels entitled.
yes,
And our society is built on it.
yes,
But this is the thing. I spoke to me and Representative Davis spoke on a panel 2 weeks ago, and I proposed it 2 years ago, and now it's coming to the table, that anyone who goes out, if you have a military mandated to take post training, and you have police with that, you have other scenarios that can stop them. Police don't get a gun if they come up mental illness.
Yeah.
Because you have to take post certification.
Yeah, I mean, but outside of the certification too, I think it's still that element of people carrying guns and their intentions, because I can go through post-certifying training, right? But if my heart isn't pure,
if I don't value mankind, if I don't look at you and say, no, you're my sister, and you're my brother, and although we're having a dispute, and although I'm upset, I don't resolve any type of dispute with the gun. If we don't get back to those just founding principles to love our brother as ourselves, I think those are the things that, you know, that's why we're here. That's
our foundation. That's what we were raised on.
How do we get back there? Since everything, you know, happened with me, I talked to just several different black men because our black men are kings, you know, and their perspective is king oftentimes. And I asked him, I said, hey, you know, if someone did just, I gave a random scenario, how would you respond? The response was, I would shoot him. I am too pretty. I am too pretty to be fighting.
What?
That's what
they said?
Yes, and that is what we have to clean up.
Yes.
You know, that's a big part of it. Outside of the certification and stuff, if we don't look and see our brother as ourselves,
That's right.
we're always going to be in big trouble.
Yeah, that's right.
It's because of the easy access.
Mhm.
Yeah. You know, if we go back to when we grew up, if you fight, the next day or the next couple of hours, you're back talking, you're friends again. You know, some days it lasts a little longer, but there was never a instant where we say, oh, I'm going to get a gun and I'm going to shoot you. I don't even recall ever saying, I'm going to kill you. Never. You know, growing up, even if I got my butt beat and y'all jumped me, I'm going to get you back. Me and my cousin and my sister, we going to get you back.
Fight every day. With my situation, you know, Dominique and the little individual, they got into a fist fight, you know, and so the little boy,
fight turns
yeah, why did it turn deadly?
Yeah.
You know,
But even
Let alone
when we
slap.
grew up, the
Yeah.
times were different than they are now.
yeah.
And also parents, our parents, you know, they didn't keep most often times, you know, my father had a gun in the home at the time as when I was growing up, but it was always secure. So I think it's all about now to the generation and how things have shifted. You know, parents need to, you know, have better communication with their children, see what they're doing, you know, be able to know where they are. You know, oftentimes parents don't even know where kids at, kids hanging out at, you know, different hours of the night. When you were speaking earlier, Julvonnia, you know, my first thought, you know, that came to mind to me was oftentimes the parents don't even take the initiative and the effort to end and put into the youth. I have so many programs in that the parents, they don't even attend, you know.
Look at the PTA, Sharmaine. That's your family. Look at the PTA.
I mean, I have one better. Imagine having a whole program entitled I Am to speak life into the parents and the kids.
Yeah.
And I have moms calling me, asking me, what time can I drop him off?
Exactly.
I said, no, mom, it's for both of you.
Right.
Okay, then. I'll talk to you later.
Maya, you can attest to that. The program we had last year. You know, we had a program last year, prevention of violence for youth, and there were so many parents dropping kids off.
So we're trying to get to the foundation, but we can't get to it.
And that's
It goes back.
because we have sports. Our black kids get dropped off instead of parents staying there to support the children. Because a lot of our parents haven't even seen their kids play the game. They just drop them off. Then we have the PTA. If parents actually knew about the PTA, the more support you have from your parents gets you the nurse inside the hospital, inside the school, and it gets you other things inside that school when you participate in the PTA. It's not just them taking your money. You pay what, $25? It's been so long since I've had a child.
Well, I can tell you this, because I was president of the PTA when Dominique came and lived with us, and there was no participation.
Right.
Exactly.
None.
There was none.
And here's the thing. Okay, so
You have to bribe people.
I live on the east side, right? So it's predominantly black. But Xavier went to Chamblee High School, which is predominantly white. And Elian went to Marvin. The big difference was Marvin was a theme school, so we didn't have a choice. We had to. But if we went down to another school down the street from us, like another elementary school. Those parents weren't coming to the PTA because they didn't have to.
So
there was a lottery school.
Are we saying that we need to have more conversations as parents with our children? Is that one of the
Absolutely.
So that's one thing. I think we need to have conversations with parents.
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because I know growing up and finding a gun in our home, where my mother had it locked up and secured. I was just still curious, and I went and found what, how to get into it. I figured that out for myself. But still, I feel like, I didn't do anything with it or anything. I found it, I put it back, because first of all, when I figured out that's what was in here, so that's why she got to know, okay, wrong thing for me to do. Right, absolutely. So I made sure that I put it back like it was, but I was afraid of finding it, but yet I don't think that my mother had a conversation about guns and gun storage, and now that you did speak about, be smart in the programs are out there, how can we bring it back to speaking to the parents, because we already have these amazing programs.
Yes.
So what more are we going to be able to do?
We have to keep having round tables
Yes.
like this.
Okay.
We have to keep the conversation going.
You can't just
You
keep
know,
planting the seed.
we have to keep,
Yes.
and eventually, if one person
Yeah.
can make a
We
big
reach
difference.
Right.
We can
Yes.
save a life.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to talk about some myths.
Okay.
Okay,
Oh,
about,
yes.
about myths of gun violence and prevention safety measures and gun reform. So there are some myths. So criminals will always find a way to get their hands on guns. How do y'all feel about that myth?
It's not a myth.
That's
not
a
a
fact.
myth,
That's
that's
a
a
fact.
fact.
That's a fact.
Okay. Well, the fact is, laws like background checks stop sales to criminals every day. Since 1994, there have been laws that have blocked more than 3.5 million gun sales to people who could not legally own guns. Now, when we say this,
No.
Are we talking about our?
wait. That's what I'm about to say. That's what I'm about to
That has
say.
nothing to do with our
Wait.
community.
There it is. So we're gonna talk about where I got these myths from in a minute. But
Okay.
but that was the fact. So how do y'all feel about that?
I mean, if you think about that in totality, this discussion alone would tell you easy access and illegal guns is a problem in our community.
Yes.
Yeah.
Background check
100%.
isn't going to help that particular thing because the
That's
person
right.
that's getting that gun from that stash house isn't worried about a background check.
And they're not doing
Exactly.
background
And they're
checks
not
at
doing
high
one.
school.
And
When I
right.
tell you I have $25.
And they're not doing
Right.
a background check when you can go online to personal sellers. They're not doing background checks.
Right.
So
Or when you
if I
can
have my
print a
uncle,
gun show.
if I have my uncle and he's selling a gun and he sell it to me,
He didn't
he didn't do a background check. He just sold it to his niece.
Or if I just go to the
Or
hood
just-
and go talk to my homeboy
Yes,
and go
can
get
I
one,
get
And that's
we're not doing a
what
background
I was
check.
getting ready to say,
No.
because the
It
individual.
didn't even happen, actually. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah.
Right, the
That's
individual that
culture.
killed my son, he was a convicted felon, and so he knew where to go.
Go,
to
right,
get the gun.
right.
Yeah.
Because that's back to access.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Access is easy.
But
Yeah.
you can be
Illegal
16.
guns,
We know
illegal
this. You can be
access.
16
Right.
and go to a gun show and purchase a gun.
Right.
I mean, you said you were gonna give us facts. That's
Myth.
not a fact.
No, I'm just saying. I'm just
I
saying.
know.
I'm not-
I
I'm
know.
just-
She giving
I
you
know.
the fact from the other.
Okay, because that's not.
Okay, so myth. Guns don't kill people. People kill people.
Guns do.
They both
They
do.
do.
both.
They both.
They both
They
Okay.
both do.
Fact is, people with guns kill people.
Yes,
And the more efficiently, more efficiently, I got my glasses, efficiently than people without guns. The U.S. gun homicide rate is 25 times higher than that of other high-income countries.
Yes.
Okay, so that was the fact.
Yes.
Okay.
I agree.
Fact.
Myth. Federal law prohibits all domestic abusers from having guns.
I can't wait for you to tell us where you got these facts from.
Okay.
That's supposed to be a fact.
No, that was the myth.
Oh,
Okay, myth was
Okay,
federal
okay.
law prohibits all domestic abusers from having guns. The fact is, federal law generally does not cover abusive dating partners or convicted stalkers. How do y'all feel about
Or
that?
police
That's
officers who
because
are
they
offenders.
there's a loophole. There is a loophole.
right.
And when they doing a background check, if it's someone that girlfriend, boyfriend, they don't consider that as a partner
Right.
sometimes. So there's a loophole depending on the relationship.
Yeah.
And they always ask that particular relationship when it comes to purchasing a gun when you have something on your background. That does make a difference.
And there's
Right.
also that loophole with the police officers who are abusers. Because with the police officers, they'll have them leave their gun at the station. They can't take it home, but they don't take the guns out of their house. Yeah, we
Interesting.
found that out. Well,
Okay.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Okay, myth. A small child cannot pull a trigger.
Absolutely.
Fact, every year nearly 350 children aged 17 and under gain access to a gun and unintentionally shoot themselves or someone else, sometimes fatally.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, myth. Arming teachers will keep our kids safe in schools.
You better not put a gun in a teacher's hand.
Teachers
No.
are human beings.
No.
Yeah,
Yes,
they
exactly,
can
and
be
that
just
can
as
go-
unstable.
That's their job.
Teachers
Exactly.
have bad days too.
I
And
have
so
fact,
if
yeah.
I have a teenager that's 6'2", 300 pounds,
Yeah.
black male,
Right.
he get aggressive in the classroom. The teacher have the gun. He or she feels threatened. What happens?
Right.
What happens to my 6'2" teddy bear, but just become aggressive because he's fitting this narrative of he's gonna do this to me because he's black and because he's this big, so he looks this way. Michael Brown, case in point, you know.
And we have to consider the fact that most black men seem threatening to others outside of our community.
Arming the teachers.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
No, that's
It'll
just that'll give
unintentional
more
shootings.
guns.
That'll give them it'll give them an excuse to pull.
There we go.
Their job is to
more
not
guns
to
is not
necessarily
the
protect
solution.
my children,
Yes.
which they're supposed to do that too. But their job is to teach and train my children. That's what I'm sending my child to school for, not necessarily to be protected by you. I mean, that's what we have security and all those things, right? I need you to work in the parameters of what your degree is.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but the fact is, aiming teachers ignores research that shows that presence of a gun increases the risk. Oh Lord, I can't see. Arming teachers ignores research that shows the presence of a gun increases the risk posed to children and teachers. School safety experts and law enforcement oppose arming teachers. So
Okay, great. Great.
Yes.
Good. Okay, so next we're gonna move right along, and we're gonna go to how trust plays a role in your everyday acquaintance.
Yes. So for me, I'm going to take that one. As with our experience as gun violence survivor, there's a lot that we've experienced on this journey, and one of the main things is mistrust.
Yes.
There is a level of building that trust back again because you're trying to find the motives of everybody. Everything is unknown. There's uncertainty about a lot of things, and trying to forge relationships, you have to be mindful of a lot of things. First, you have to set healthy boundaries. You have to protect your peace. You have to guard your heart. Because everyone that said they are for you, they are not for you. And so you have to do your research. If you're talking to someone and you're leaving exasperated and you're leaving empty, you have to know that that relationship may not be meaningful for you. And every time that there's a survivor or a gun violence survivor that comes into on the heels of us, we can't always be that person to take on everything because we ourselves are gun violence survivors. And so you can't expect and you can't expect to have 20 and 30 people that you're taking under you to be able, and you're still healing yourself.
Absolutely.
You know, and so it's very important because trust in this movement alone, because motives. You have to think of the motives. You know, nobody tears are more than the other. Nobody tears is heavier than the other. We all have experienced loss, and we can't compete with grief. Like, who wants to compete with pain? There is no way that we can compete with this.
Did you just say a word? Did you just say a word?
At the end of the day, I don't think any of us
Pass the collection tray.
Right. I don't think any of us would say me, pick me. Look, none of us on here would say pick me. And so with that being said, we do have to be mindful of the people that comes in our circle, because everybody is not right. Everybody needs somebody, but that somebody can't be anybody. You have to be able to you have to be able to see who that person is, and you have to examine their heart, because we already have taken a lot. Everything what has happened to us, it takes a lifetime of healing. It's not like we're going to be healed today or tomorrow. We're not going to wake up tomorrow and say, oh, I'm fully healed. No, it's constant, it's ongoing, because this journey is enduring. It's enduring. And so if you have someone who's, in the case in point, I'll bring this up. I was at Advocacy Day, Georgia Advocacy Day, and this lady took to me and she's hugging me, and she's wanting to take a picture with me. But then I have this other lady who just had experienced gun violence, thinking that I was siding with this lady because they had got into it, and it was like, and I'm looking like, lady, like, I'm going through right now, you asking me, like, you you try like, and you're accusing me of doing something that I didn't do, and
Yes.
I'm looking like,
Yes.
wait a minute, like
You're not even there for that.
I'm not even
Right.
Right.
I mean, to the
Yeah.
point
We're
where
not here
I
for
felt so uncomfortable.
Right.
I was just like, I'm ready to go. Like I
Yeah,
felt
because
really uncomfortable.
one of them wasn't a survivor, and the other one was fresh in her survivorship.
It's her survivorship, and
And-
it's just it
yeah,
moved
it was
off.
horrible.
But I was in the middle, and I just
she
felt like
was.
I felt like, wait a minute, and that's why it's the trust. The
Mhm.
trust
Trust.
is, and we don't negate any survivor's feelings because we all have feelings.
Yes.
We all have emotions that we go
Yeah.
through, and some days are not going to be good days. You're
Yeah.
going to have days where you have to say, not today. It's
Right.
it's okay
That's
to not be okay, and it's okay to say not today. It's okay to decline and pass the mic.
It's okay
It's
to say
okay.
no.
That's
It's
right.
okay.
You also have to
Right.
respect one another.
You have to
Yeah.
respect. Is
Respect
the
is
And
norm.
another
very
thing too
important.
is, as a survivor, a lot of times we can sign up to do something, and then we can be triggered and may not be able to attend that event
Or to
that we
keep
had
going.
signed up for,
Right.
and it's sad to say that sometimes survivors do retreat from the things that they've signed up for. But I want people to also realize that if that happens, just have grace for someone because you do not know if they. Oh, she didn't come to my event. She said she was gonna be there. But sometimes there's some underlying things that have happened or
Yeah.
occurred. It could be a new death
Yeah.
in their family, or it
Yes.
could be a new loss. It doesn't have to necessarily be, it doesn't have to necessarily be them dealing with the loss that we are so conscious of
Right.
because they're a survivor.
Right.
What if they lost their mother or their
Right.
father or something
Right.
else, or lost their job? There's
And
so much going on
awareness.
with COVID
And
right
also,
now.
what
Empathy
about-
goes a long
Empathy,
way.
yes.
Empathy. Empathy goes a long
Yes,
way.
yes,
And
yes.
you have to have compassion. Compassion and empathy.
Okay, so I'm gonna go another way with this. What about the survivor that uses being a survivor as a reason to hurt other people? Now, if somebody knock on my door, somebody
Okay.
do because I personally experienced that.
Yeah, we have
being
too.
around a survivor and a survivor that's with me, and
Yeah.
now you turn on me.
Yeah,
You can't use being a survivor
yeah,
Yeah.
of
These
this
emotions.
tragic.
yeah.
to
You can't
turn
use
and
it
twist.
to
Yeah.
validate your reason
Thank you.
behind
Being wrong.
being
There you
wrong,
go.
or
There you
being
go.
Just
rude,
doing wrong.
or
Yeah.
being abrasive to someone.
Yes.
You can't use that excuse because a lot of people retreat to that.
Yes.
It's like, oh, I'm a survivor. I'm having a bad day. But is it really that, or are you trying to hide behind that during this time?
Right.
Yeah.
Because we as survivors, we know what that feels like.
Yes.
And our feelings and our feelings and our emotions matter.
Yeah.
Our tears matter.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, we should be able to express to ourselves and say, you know what, I don't have the capacity. I'm learning
right,
that. I don't
right.
have the
Have the space.
capacity.
Yeah.
I don't have the
Right.
capacity right now to handle that and
Yeah.
to take on more right now. I don't have the capacity because sometimes it gets so heavy. This journey is, you got Christmas, you have holidays, you have
Birthdays.
birthdays, you have the
Birthdays.
first, you
You
have
have
the
every
first of
day.
everything.
You have a whole lot of milestones
Yes.
that you've
Everything.
already. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take it to another journey though. Let's travel down this road. When the murder first happens, and you lose trust with society,
Anger.
Yeah.
with people,
Anger.
with you don't know who to trust anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
It takes you a moment to even come out to the grocery store.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because you don't know who, or because murders like that. Okay, it's like that. It could be a complete stranger, or it could be someone that you know.
Yeah.
And what a lot of our family members don't understand is that when you experience something like that, you're trying to regain what has happened. You're
Yeah.
trying to make
Process.
sense
You're
of it.
trying
You're
to process.
process it.
Yeah.
You're trying to figure it out. And at the moment, no, you don't. I don't want to be around you while you're smiling and your family hasn't been tainted. I don't want to be around
Right.
you while you still can sit here and have fun.
Yeah.
I don't want to go to the grocery store and see someone who's loving their children and having fun, and I can't walk with my child. I can't walk with my husband. I can't laugh with them anymore because murder is definite.
Yes.
It's not. There is no turning around. There is no.
It's
Oh,
not
I
coming
just
back.
pull the bullet back and it's bring that person's life back. You cannot bring them back. And a lot of times, what happens is, and I'm getting emotional over it because we talk about what happens amongst us, but we don't. We kind of sit in silence when our family members and our friends
Yeah.
don't understand that we are struggling to trust again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because it's different
Yeah.
before the murder because
Yeah.
you're walking around with rose-colored glasses on, and the world is beautiful, and you know you're gonna see your kids grow up. You're gonna celebrate your anniversary with your husband. You know that all these things. You never, ever, ever think that one day you're gonna wake up and that person's not there, and they can't come back. And people take it so personal when you're trying to just regain. You're trying to figure it out. I don't know how to do this life without him.
Right.
You're not the same person.
You're not the same person.
Before your tragedy,
You
your
know?
trauma. You're not.
Well, I'll tell you
You'll
somewhere
never
else too. For
You'll
me,
never be the same.
For me, it's been my other children. It's like I don't trust anybody that's around them because for my situation, Taiki was shot by 2 individuals that he knew. So I have 5 other children that I'm still constantly worried about. Well, who are you hanging out with? Who's this person that you're talking to now? Who's coming by the house? I mean, for a long time, it took me some time getting used to, just like we saying, trusting and being vulnerable enough to be okay and to smile at their friends and say that, okay, you're going out with this particular person, okay, I'm okay with that. But my children are adults. I can't tell them what to do, but still, at night, I'm still laying awake because I'm worried about who they're with.
Exactly.
Because of my experience, right?
And the thing is you're right about that, because what a lot of people don't understand, like I've barely told people this, but 20 years prior to Xavier being murdered, my roommate was murdered by my roommate.
Oh, gosh.
And I witnessed it.
Oh, Lord.
So coming out of that situation, I remember going to my mom's house because I had our apartment. We couldn't stay at the apartment anymore. And I went back home and being around knives because he stabbed her multiple times. And I couldn't see a butcher knife. I couldn't, certain knives, steak knife, I could not be around them. And I would be upstairs laying in my bed, not knowing if my father or my mother was gonna, something's gonna snap. Because it rains something different when it's someone you personally know.
Right.
Yes.
You know, and it's like laying in that bed, not knowing who's gonna walk through that door and murder me. You know?
Right.
So, and then with Xavier, the 14-year-old that killed my son was my sister's boyfriend's son. So it's always someone we know. You know? But they hadn't met, which was the ironic thing about it, was they had not met. But he had met my youngest son. And I thought to myself, well, what if Ileana had been there? And I get so much feedback. You need to just let that boy go. Let who go?
Yeah.
You need to let Ileana just grow. That's my child. Do you realize my 21?
We hold him the dear life to him now.
He went out there free-spirited, as I don't know what, you know, having a good time swinging from the chandeliers and welcoming every walk of life. I told that 14-year-old, I said, to be honest with you, if you had not shot him, he would have never come looking for you. He wouldn't have even told me about it. But what he would have done is if he saw you, because now we know who you are, he would have sat down with you and tried to steer you in a different direction. You know?
That kind of goes to the line of learning what to say and what not to say.
There's a lot.
There's a lot of
There's
those
a lot
things.
of that.
That's a whole other topic. We got a whole nother
Okay. Yes.
But yeah,
So we're going to jump into advocacy because we've talked about survivorhood and survivorship and what that looks like for us and our individual experiences. Let's talk about advocacy because we came from grief. Now we're here at gratitude. So let's talk about how do we get in this fight, and you take that on, please.
Okay, where do I start? First and foremost, I would say to the audience that's listening and to everyone that whenever tragedy happens in your life, when you lose someone very special to you or their life is taken, let me put it that way, go to what you think that person would want for you. And whatever that is, and you know them very personally, fight for that. That's how you keep their life. That's how you keep their name. That's how you keep their legacy alive. And so for me, every time I would do something where I wanted vengeance, I heard Xavier's. He was the all-forgiving person. He never held a grudge to anyone. And so his love was so beautiful that eventually I think I just inherited that spirit in me. And I began to look at other people and say, you know what? I know Xavier wanted to see them smile. And he wanted to see them happy. And so I would use the story about how Xavier wanted to see me happy. Xavier doesn't want to see me down here crying and miserable and not living life. He wants me to live it to the fullest. And so my motivation for advocacy is that the day that it's time for me to go home, I want my son to say, besides God, to say, job well done.
Absolutely.
And so I'm looking, that's what I work for, the day to see him.
Yeah,
So, to see him again. So, so with advocacy, oh, you have to go into details. I'm just sitting here like, okay, what do I could go all over the place. The work that I have chosen to do, I started out with our organization, with Moms Demand Action in every town, to speak about, to do share storytelling, but also to work on the legislative part for laws, to advocate, to aware people about the senseless gun laws that are out here, the loopholes that are out here, the access to guns, even to the point of the judicial system, the issues in our Black community that differs from other communities outside of our community. And then my advocacy turned to heart and soul and spirit. And I realized that, and it was over talking, listening to some people go up and speak that hadn't been healed, and hear them come down, and I said, I never want anyone to see that. I want you to see the other side of this, because there is another side.
Yes,
You know, we're not going to always be miserable, crying, and upset. I mean, when we talk about it, of course, it's emotional.
Yeah.
But you do smile again. You do live again. You do laugh again, and you go out and you can enjoy society without feeling that huge distrust that you felt initially. And so now I help women go through their trauma process, and it's with a biblical principle. So, and it is to anyone. It doesn't matter if you're a Christian and if you're not saved.
Right.
But it's going to be a biblical principle, because in the book, The Secret, they use biblical principles. So it's going to be that. But yeah, I'm a strong advocate for senseless, for gun safety, let me put it that way. But I'm even a stronger advocate for healing, because until you're healed, you can't really do anything.
Yeah. And that's a daily walk, healing.
Yeah.
That's a daily
Yes.
walk. It's a daily walk. Well, it has been for me. And advocacy for me has just been what we're doing right now. Coming together, like-minded women, and you have to find your tribe.
No.
Yes.
First of all,
That's
let's
the
talk about
trust.
that.
That's the trust.
Yes, you have to.
Where's the collection plates? Where's the collection plates? Pass it.
Yes, I am blessed to have a tribe of women that have collective, who rank in their own. It's not that she does one thing, she does another thing, but the thing is, they rank in their own space.
We have our own.
Yes, they rank in their own space, and they do what they do to support others very well in the community. That's what I love about each of you. You show up, and y'all show out every time. Oh my God, I can just get chills. I have chill bumps just by looking at each of you in your faces, and I'm so glad that we are here together today. But advocacy for me started out with me working with an organization that was getting bullets off the street and making bracelets. So that's where I originally started. And I had already been making bracelets for my son, for Taiki, and this opportunity came up, and I actually became the chief ambassador here in Atlanta for this organization. And I was looking for somewhere to go to promote the brand. And I ended up going to my first Moms Demand Action meeting, which was a Wear Orange event, and I met Sharmaine Brown. And that's just a whole lot right there. And after first meeting her, I was able to share my story, and she welcomed me into the DeKalb chapter. And it's just been on and popping ever since.
Yes.
And I can't remember in order how I met everybody, but
I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, how did I meet everybody?
But yes, I have this tribe of beautiful women that I can call my friends. My friends. Everybody can't say that.
No,
so
that's right.
so I'm just
Sisters.
grateful.
Sisters, that's what I was gonna say.
Yes,
Sisters.
absolutely. But
Sisters.
friends too.
Friends.
Yeah.
Friends.
Yeah,
Yes.
because you could be sisters and not be friends.
Yeah.
But yes, it's been just an
Right.
amazing journey for me as far as advocacy, and I've learned so much through Moms Demand Action and Every Town for Gun Safety. I'm telling you, when I actually got involved with both of them, my advocacy just went up the roof. I mean, it just, everything just started happening so fast, and I didn't even think that I would be here today, talking to you all, but just that one interaction with meeting Sharmaine and her you really kind of introduced me to everyone else, and it's just been amazing.
And that
would like to share about
that brings me back because it was Stephanie Stone that reached out to me.
Okay.
And I kept ignoring her. I was like, I don't want to be around a whole bunch of people grieving. I don't want to,
Right.
So I was just kind of like, I don't want to do this. She kept on and
she has a way.
She has a way of
getting
getting you.
in this organization.
And I have to say that it was because of me coming into Moms Demand Action that gave me, you know, I remember sitting and being so grateful because I'd always wanted to be an advocate.
Yeah.
And, you know, and it took, you know, Xavier, and because he has more reasons than anything as to why he was here, but it took the life of Xavier to put me in that, on that platform. But it was them who opened the door and allowed me and the acceptance to do that. Yeah. So they were really that open door for me. Yes. And then once I got my foot in and my feel for everything, is when it was just like everything started opening up, because Mom started, and then Everytown started, and then my church was like, oh, we have this, and I was like, oh, so I went and interviewed for it, and he was like, oh, you'll be perfect. And next thing I know, I'm walking in, and there's a door with my name on it to facilitate a group. I took a picture of it because I'm like, oh my God. And it's like facilitator, advocate, and I'm like, that's me. That's me. That's me. Oh my God. Like I finally came. Oh my God. And so,
advocacy, it can be instrumental.
It's
everything that has paved this way for us.
Yeah.
Although the road has had some lumps, some bumps, some ups and downs, some everything. Yeah, dirt. Yeah, but we can tell the clay, some pouring the water over the concrete. It ain't some edgy rocks, some everything.
And we still have it. We're still gonna have it.
We still
are.
We're still gonna have it. So the road has been long. The road has been tiresome. But I can say, the relationships,
and the partnerships,
the collaborations of being able to forge a trusting, like we said, trusting acquaintances, and knowing that with moms, everyone isn't a survivor, but they want to see stuff happen with Moms Demand Action. You have Everytown, which everyone there is a survivor of gun violence of some sort, and we are the community when it comes to that organization. And so being able to foster these relationships and undergird one another, because one day if I don't have the strength, I know I can call Angel, I can call Olga, I can call Nichole, Sharmaine, I can text them if I'm having a bad day. Like she'd say, hey, the eagle, look at it from a different perspective. I needed that day. And being that I was on the cliff, I was like, hey, I'm about to, Olga, hey, Angel, hey, and you need that. You need that realness where people are able to bring you back in, because we have those days, and this road, I mean, this road is long. It's never easy, but having those relationships is very important to be able to have this sisterhood.
And I can tell you who pulls me out the deep end every single time. She don't even know. I be wondering how the heck you know I'm down here so deep. And she'll, all of a sudden I get a text message and I'm like,
you're back.
Okay.
Let me ask this question as far as being an advocate, because we have done a lot of work. We've been on a lot of platforms. But how do you feel always being identified as a survivor when
Sharmaine, you have your hearts of success outside of advocacy? Every one of us individually has something else. So how do you feel about always being identified first now, because you've done a lot of platforms, being identified just as a survivor when you have so much more to accompany your name?
For me, even though I do advocacy work, with Moms Demand Action, Everytown for Gun Safety, I serve on the, Faith Advisory Council for Everytown, and like you say, and Sandy Hook, on the council with the School Advisory Board. Even though I serve in all those capacities, I know who I am, and I am not just a survivor. I identify all the, areas that I work in. And for me, it kind of, it's just a general collaboration and a partnership. And so for each area, that I work in, I always know first, I'm a mother, I'm
There
a
you go.
grandmother,
Okay, yes.
I'm a wife,
Mhm.
so.
Yeah, because I know I've talked to other survivors that were, that dealt with domestic violence, and a young woman told me, it was so hard for her to get from up under that, almost start seeming like it was a stigma of being a survivor, because that's all that she would get booked for, that's all. And she had so much more. She was an empowerment speaker, and she had so much more to give. So I just wanted to ask that, because I know a lot of times survivors get kind of caught up in that, and they still need to find their voice outside of the advocacy work. So I guess that's why I'm bringing that on, that brought that question about.
My career got snuffed at first under it because people were looking more at me as a survivor,
Yeah,
and I have to market myself in order to do business.
right,
And so I didn't have a choice. I had to switch roles,
yeah.
so that people would know that I'm a realtor.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's because people were really just like, oh, Nichole, she's with that organization now. She's not doing real estate, and I'm like, no, I never said that.
Right, so it's important to
Right.
advocate for ourselves
Right.
outside of,
Yeah.
and
Because people will make a whole story.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
if you're not asking.
especially when it benefits them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they were making whole stories, and I was like, okay, wait a minute.
Right, and how you have to take a pause, take a break,
Yeah.
and yeah.
I was like, they don't pay me.
I think you have to, keep it in the forefront, you know who you are.
That's right.
And you know how you want to be remembered as,
That's right.
or, you have to actually speak
Yes.
out,
Yeah.
Yes.
in other
Right.
words.
Yeah.
And bring it back into their remembrance if they don't know.
Yeah.
So.
That's right. Let's talk about your section, Sharmaine, which is court system justice.
Okay, so for me, for not so much court system justice, I'll just say for my personal, I'll speak to, my situation and what happened to my family.
Yes.
And the accountability that we received on behalf of Jared and him losing his life. Because of course the law, it's the law. And, I'm thankful to the district attorney, who processed the case, and for us to receive accountability.
Yeah.
And, allow it to have no, because it's never justice.
Yeah, right.
Justice to me would be to have Jared with us.
Absolutely.
So I'm just so thankful that the individual, was held accountable.
Yes.
Right.
I'm not so much overly happy because when you look at it, you look at not only did our family have lost, his family
Absolutely.
suffered loss.
Nobody
He has a
wins.
young child
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
now
Nobody
won't
wins.
have a father,
Yeah.
to be there in their lives. And so when you look at it again, with the black on black,
Yeah.
violence, you look at, 2 black families have been affected, and our lives forever changed.
Forever.
I'm sure for his mother, his father,
Yeah, yeah.
having to lose him into the system
Yeah.
is heartbreaking. Same thing for my husband and me and our daughters, having to, so it's almost like it's a no-win situation at all.
Right.
But at least, he had to be held accountable
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
his actions.
Yeah.
Right.
And so,
That's right.
yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And where are we next? Let's go to selling out, ratting out, how that affects a family close, how that affects families.
Okay. So I have a very unique experience with this. I always heard the phrase selling out and never really knew what it meant until that fateful day. You
Okay.
know. So I can remember hearing a story about, just recalling some events, and there was a specific person that went in with my loved one. Everything took place. My questions to the detective and things like that were very just follow-up questions, and I received, Ms. Smith, we don't know. Ms. Smith, we have not heard from, whomever these individuals are. So I couldn't make sense of that. But it took me some time to break it down and process it, and then I'm like, okay, so this is what they mean. Selling out is just simply not talking to the police
Yeah.
for whatever the reason is. Because in my mind, I'm like, well, no, you were there.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and how it affected my closure was it more so tainted my trust
Yeah.
and my peace, because whenever when we enter into this journey, we enter it as novice. We don't know.
Right.
Right.
And so
what it did was it tainted my trust for, again, people that looked just like me, and it did not provide any closure, because at that point, you know, we're always trying to figure out, okay, how can we make this situation work? I'm like, well, you know, it will help for justice. It will help, you know, solve this case if you just say what happened.
Right.
And, you know, it's a dire consequence, but selling out is not selling out. I think it's more so a misconception of responsibility that we hold one to another. And it's very unfortunate.
And I think it's the dumbest street code to have when you can sit there and see someone lose their life, witness it, and then, oh, I'm not gonna say anything.
Because we have so many survivors. I'm sorry. They're part of the problem.
They are.
Because we have so many survivor sisters that are still waiting for justice, and that's the holdup right there.
Yes, it is.
You know what I mean? And it just, it hurts my heart to know that we can have the answers and know who it is, but yet, in order to have a conviction and justice, we would need people to come forward.
Which is another route that we need to.
Yes, we
Right.
need to talk about it,
Okay.
because, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So in our community, there was a 2-year-old, Kiara Kiki Bates. I never forget, a few years ago, I thought, surely this is a 2-year-old child that was killed.
Right.
Someone, the detective line is gonna ring off the hook, because somebody is gonna say something, because this is a 2-year-old child, just learning how to get potty trained, not talking, just learning how to walk. Surely, somebody is gonna say something about this 2-year-old. Years later, nothing.
Wow.
And it continues, and to me, it makes not only my heart hurt, but it's just like, how can someone pull the trigger, kill a 2-year-old, and nobody says anything? Everyone, the detective's like, it's a cold case now, and I'm like, but her mom is not a cold case.
Because somebody
has the answer.
Somebody
So it's
has
not a
the
cold
answer.
case.
Right.
But every day she struggles, because then you look at it from a perspective of, you can't trust anyone.
'Cause you don't
Did
know
have
who's
something?
around
Did you
you.
know something?
Right,
Did
exactly.
you do it? You know, and you're really guarded with your relationship. Like, why is this person trying to get close to me? Are they trying to figure out what I know?
Yeah.
What?
Right,
Say
right,
what?
right,
So you
Will this
become,
person kill me?
you become a prisoner within your own self and circumstances when there are unsolved cases like this. And I thought, surely a 2-year-old. I thought, you couldn't tell me this wasn't going to get solved. I said, next week, they're going to have an arrest.
Yeah.
And to
Actually,
actually,
years
my
later.
family owns a funeral home, and they had her body. And to see the amount of people coming in and sitting back, and I'm wondering, who did this to this baby?
Right.
You know, you have this mom who, she really does not know who did this to her. Nobody's saying anything.
Right.
You know, that's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So my question is this, because this is my campaign, getting to the root of it. Where did it start that we were gonna kill each other if somebody spoke up and said, this is who did it? Where did it come from? Who started it?
I think that's some prison mentality.
And we need to.
If I would just have to say, I don't know.
Well, we need to kill the root. But
Yeah.
the reason I put that out there is for those who are listening and those who are watching. I want you to savor over that. I want you to think about if it was your family member. If you lost your daughter, if you lost your son, if you lost your loved one, would you sit right with you every year, not knowing who the people are around you now, because you don't know if that person is the one who killed your child or killed your loved one. How would that feel to you?
And it wouldn't feel good, but just like Julvonnia often says, as a society, especially over here in the United States of America, in our communities with Black and brown people, we have normalized the most abnormal ones.
Yes.
And so they do it with ease. They don't think about the mom that has a 3-year-old. Right. Like, hey, I want my dad to come pick me up from school.
Right.
You know, they're saying, hey, my dad's in heaven. I want to go with him too. And we have to unpack those emotions. And we have to dissect those things. And it's like, for what? So is it really snitching, or is it due diligence, one to another?
Closure.
And again, that's why I am an advocate for just changing the way we relate to one another.
That's right.
You know, even in contentious moments, because we all get upset. You know what I mean? We're human, but again, you don't resolve. Yes, you don't. You know? And if you witness it, you have a responsibility to say something.
Absolutely.
See something,
Say something.
Yes.
If you know something, say something.
something.
Parents, if you're harboring somebody in your home right now today, and you know that your child has done something, say something.
Say something.
You know, you don't want to be sitting next to us on this couch. We don't want anybody else on this couch.
one.
It needs to stop.
And no, it definitely needs to. And you, as an individual, know right from wrong. You see someone attempting to do something wrong or doing something wrong, you have the right to stand up and stop it.
Say something.
Not, don't turn your head, turn an eye, turn a cheek. I didn't see that. You see a life getting ready to be taken. Stop.
Yeah.
Brother, this is not what you need to do. Talk to the individual. Don't sit there and be like, this is not my business.
Yeah.
Because the
One
tomorrow
thing
is
I
going to
do
be your
know,
own.
is that talk save lives.
It does.
And
Yes.
talk save lives,
Yes.
not just in the community that I serve with American Foundation of Suicide Prevention, but just talk save lives, period. Just this conversation that we're having. Thank you so much, you guys. We are going to go ahead and wrap up today's session on Black Violence Healing Day. I would like to also just share with you all that we did receive a proclamation for today for May the 2nd. We're calling it Black on Black Violence Healing Day. So we're having this conversation. So excited to be able to come on again on May the 2nd. So please join us on May the 2nd for our live event on Facebook. And we're going to dive deeper with our engaging our audience to talk more and speak more about what your experience have been with gun violence, or not just gun violence, Black on Black violence as well. So please join us on May the 2nd on Facebook Live. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Ran across you the other day. I'm sure the look upon my face, I made you wonder if I was okay, then question your integrity. I'm sorry if I made you feel away, like maybe you can't fit in my space. I'm better than I was yesterday, but not enough to fill your needs today. I'm healing from my past that made me believe I wouldn't last. I am healing from those wounds right now.